About 80% of our flowers are pollinated by a living organism. In the previous episode, we talked about how insects pollinate and how they carry the pollen from the anther to the stigma. But what about other plants, other flowers that need pollinated? Are they all just by insects, or are there other methods? And what about the plants that don't need a living organism? Let's go find out. While insect pollination is vital, we have other animals that assist in pollination. The ruby-throated hummingbird transfers pollen as it visits flowers sipping nectar. As they go from flower to flower, they leave behind bits of pollen that had stuck to them. They can also distribute pollen by creating a breeze while hovering. Mammals are not generally thought of as pollinators, but some rodents, bats, and marsupials are significant pollinators in other countries. Even humans can be incidental pollinators. When working in the garden, sometimes pollen will stick to clothing. As you visit from plant to plant, you unintentionally pollinate flowers. The most common form of non-living pollination occurs by wind. The flowers tend to be dull and have no fragrance. They have long anthers to blow in the wind and sticky, feathery-like stigmas to help catch the pollen. Because these plants depend on the wind, they usually produce large amounts of pollen in the hopes that some make it to the stigma. Most conifers, or pine trees, are wind pollinated. Some plants, like certain orchids, are capable of self-pollination and do not rely on other methods. There are also plants that utilize rain and water to transport their pollen. The scientific community continually conducts research and learns more about pollination. Over time, as flowers change, so can their methods. In this EcoBite, we learned that we have several different ways for pollination to occur. Tune in next week when we learn a little bit more about pollination.